Can you improve your immune system, specifically this Shabbos on Parshas Nasso? Yes, you can, or it's connected to it. So what's that all about? Immune system? Elevation? Welcome to our Panini. This is Sarah Tova Best. So just think about it. One simple way to enhance your immune system is don't sit slouched over. Lift up your head. When you lift up your head, if your head is down, quite honestly, everything kind of becomes compressed and the whole system doesn't work properly, even down to your feet and down to your toes. So that's just because there's not enough circulation. You can do all the research and see why. Now, when you lift up your head physically and you stand tall and you put your shoulders back, but specifically with your head up, standing up, then there's air circulating everything and all the organs work much better. Even the circulation down to the feet, which affects how the feet work, is enhanced simply by lifting up your head. So that's for immune system. So the same thing exists in Torah, and probably that exists because of Parshas Nasso. Because Parshas Nasso is saying the same thing. Lift up your head, and you get to lift up your foot. You get to lift up the whole body. What does that mean? We know it's called Parshas Nasso. Nasos Rosh B'nai Yisrael. Lift up the heads of the Yidden. It officially means counting, but literally lift up their heads. But if you look at the pasuk, it says Nasos Rosh B'nai Gershon Gam Hein. Lift up the heads of B'nai Gershon, them too. What do you mean the they too? Compared to whom? The way I commanded to B'nai Kahas. What does that mean? That means we're picturing a scenario carrying the Mishkan throughout the Midbar, throughout the desert, and there are three families carrying. There's Kahas, Gershon, and Merari. Kahas carries the Kedusha, the Aron, the place of holiness, the Aron. Gershon carries more or less the curtains, that part, the curtains part of the Mishkan, and Merari carries the sticks, the poles. Okay. Now, when we think about it, we have kind of two different kinds of avodas. There's our part of learning Torah. That's kind of like kahas, when you're involved in holy things and learning Torah. And then there's the part of your life when you're buying curtains. Maybe you're going on Amazon or something. You're going to a store and you're choosing curtains, or you're buying shoes, or something like that. And that's it's a mundane avodah. Says Parshas Nasso, lift up the heads of B'nai Gershon just like you lift up the heads of B'nai Kahas. Meaning, when you lift up what you do with your head, you will lift up what you do with your feet and with your curtains. When you lift up the way you think, when you elevate the way you think, you will elevate the way you choose curtains, hang curtains, buy shoes, put on Band-Aids, all that mundane stuff. Choose brown sugar over white sugar. All of that mundane stuff becomes lifted up. Why does it need to be lifted up? Because when we're in the mundane world, we kind of start to sink into it. And we lose the bigger picture of what it's all about. It's really all about revealing in the world Hashem Echad. It's not just, curtains are not just curtains. Shoes are not just shoes. There's a picture, there's a context of the whole thing. There's an avodah. It's called dir b'tachtonim. It's really easy to forget when we're in the middle of it and be dragged into it. And it's called being in local mind rather than non-local mind. We lose the big picture. What would be the big picture? We're here, we're choosing, we're buying, we're doing, we're creating, all of that stuff in the world as a means of, not only in order to, as a means of making this world a godly place. That's what we're here for. But the world, with all the curtains and all the poles and all the sticks and all the cheese blintzes and all that other stuff, the world needs to be lifted up so that everybody recognizes. So it becomes a place where Hashem feels really comfortable here. Here b'tachtonim. So how do you do that? So the pasuk tells us, lift up the heads of Bnei Gershon just like you do of Bnei Kahas. Meaning, what do you do with your head? You think. What's the highest, most sophisticated form of thinking? Learning Torah. Thinking Torah thoughts. Learning Torah. So when you lift up your head, when you elevate the way you learn Torah, you end up elevating the way you live in the world, the way you conduct yourself in everyday life, which can be very thick, problematic, heavy, full of problems, never-ending problems. It's kind of designed to look like that. We want it lifted up. We want that sense of never-ending problems of struggle in the world elevated so that we feel like, wait, this isn't endless problems. This is an incredible mission. But how do we do that? How do we lift that up to a higher perspective? By lifting up the way we learn Torah. You lift up the head, and you lift up, which causes you to lift up the foot. Just like we said with the immune system. Lift up your head, and it will cause you literally to make your immune system better, lift up your entire body. There's even a very scientific reason that all the inner organs become kind of, compressed together, and they need air and they need space. So you do those exercises where you lift up your head and you lift up your arms and you try to, up to the sky, you reach up as high as you can, and everything gets air circulation, better circulation, and everything starts to work better. So to finish off, how do we lift up the way we learn Torah? And specifically this week, because this week elevates Matan Torah. The Shabbat afterwards, after anything, the Shabbat at the end of a week elevates the whole week. We just finished Matan Torah. Seems like the peak of the year, but the peak of the year really is peaked by the Shabbat after, which lifts up the whole thing. It becomes, in a way, the most important Shabbat of the entire year. About learning Torah and living Torah through your mundane life. So how should you do it? So the Lubavitcher Rebbe says, the Chiddush is that when, and I'm just going to read inside, when the day of Shabbos after Matan Torah, Parshas Nasso, comes along, Hashem is lifting everything up. The Shabbos lifted it up. What should we do? We are asked to do our lifting up as well. Meaning, and I read the words, Hischadshus v'Yisafa b'limud haTorah mitoch chayes v'tainug, ad shemachadish chidushim b'Torah. A brand new, much higher way of learning Torah with tainug. Not just, gotta do what you gotta do, learn your thing, get it over with. But experiencing, learning Torah with a chayes, with a tainug, a much higher, much more sophisticated way of learning, to the point that it brings us to bring out novelties in Torah. And looking to bring out novelties in Torah, and looking to do it with a deep inner sense of it's real, not just an obligation, but it's real, and there's tremendous joy embedded in it by definition. When we lift up to that level, everything in our mundane life, the way we manage, the way we cope, all becomes elevated, and it's all happening this Shabbos. And so with that, may we joyfully dance from this Shabbos into Torah Chadash Amiti, Teitei V'Gula Mitzvah Shlema immediately now.